When Ryan's when it's time to begin, it's on the rewind around with John Pollock and Wai Ting. The 18 that makes sense of these things we see in the ring every week on TV. It's rewind around for Monday night. Download a Tuesday morning from the Post Wrestling site. It's rewind around for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the Mic.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rewind a Raw. It's John Pollock and Wai Ting here with you on yet another Monday night following 3 brisk hours of Raw. How are you, Wai?
Not doing that great.
Oh, no.
Been battling a migraine all day, like really bad too. So, not great, but hopefully it doesn't last that long.
Why didn't you hit me up? I would have
Would you have
gotten you on the gas here, my secret stash.
What's your secret?
Oh, it's the
What do you do?
those pills I buy in the U.S. that they don't sell here in Canada.
Oh,
Wait, are we on the air? Yeah.
did you talk about this before? I didn't know.
I can't remember. So I would get migraines usually 2 to 3 times a year, and I don't so much get them as much anymore. But years and years ago, a friend of mine, I was telling him about that. I was in the midst of getting one. He's like, "Take this. It's just like any American. It's just like your typical pharmacy, Excedrin. But they don't sell Excedrin here in Canada for whatever reason. And I was like, I didn't know what this was, but I was like, I'm going to take it. And dude, it was just miraculous. It's like my line of my last line of defense. But
You might have to restock this weekend.
I'm in good standing because I actually bought some in Philadelphia earlier this year. So
Did you?
But you can never have too much. So had you messaged me, I would have come over. I would have hand delivered you an Excedrin.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll let you know tomorrow. I'm just on Advil and Tylenol for now.
Okay. Well, was this migraine at all brought up by the chaos that you entered into yesterday, a peek into the world of John Pollock? Because I felt like you left in a sense of or a state of well, I'm ready to get going here. This is nuts.
No, it wasn't so much that. I could tell you guys were ready to move on with your day. Your kid had to go to sleep and everything. But yeah, John and his family were gracious enough to welcome me and my family over on Sunday just for a little bit of a get together, a little bit of a burgers, hot dogs. It was such a nice day. But I guess anytime you get children together, it's not necessarily the most relaxing time.
Yeah, your Oscar certainly drove Max and Evie to when they have guests over, they just hit another level, and both of them were very excited to have someone over to play with, and
as were we.
You got to see the full gamut of them. We had laughter, we had screams, we had tears, we had everything. I think you got to see the whole gamut of it.
It was a good preview of what's to come as my son starts to age into that bracket. Once they start having real opinions and they can actually form sentences and tell you what they don't want, that could be a bit trying. Yes, yeah, I could see.
You, to this day, have the most calm child. I'm sure you have seen extremes of the other way around, but I mean, this guy, he's to himself. He's just like, shut up and just show me where the cars are.
He loves cars.
He uncovered every single car vehicle that was under our roof.
Yeah, and you guys had plenty of them. But no, it was always nice to see you guys and catch up. But no, I felt like I had probably something, maybe even lingering before that. So it didn't really come out until today. So I'm not gonna. It's nothing to do with you, I'm sure.
Well, I am sure what the cure for Wai will be is when he sits back Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, to listen to John Pollock's return to the MCU later universe, as I will be joining Rich Van at WH Park Tuesday night on the Post Wrestling Cafe to chat Deadpool and Wolverine. Spoiler review. Are we? Yeah. What's the rules? We can't talk about anything at this juncture, this current time.
Like on this podcast?
Yes, I'm not gonna.
To be respectful, I would say, nothing at all. But on Tuesday, anything goes.
What's the etiquette for news coming out of the San Diego Comic-Con? Is there a time?
I think that's fair game.
Are you allowed to spoil that to somebody? Like, what if you were out with friends, you're like, whoa, did you just see this? Would that be considered overstepping?
So interestingly enough, we were actually out with Rich Van, WH, and Scrump, who were in town on over the week to watch Deadpool and Wolverine. And we were hanging out with them on Friday night as the SDCC was going on and these big announcements were being made. And they were
Saturday night.
Was that Saturday?
Yeah,
sure?
it was.
You're right.
Yeah, it was Saturday.
It was Saturday. You're right.
We were working on Friday.
Yeah, and they were very respectful. Like they almost didn't want to spoil things for me because I hadn't seen the movie yet until that. Not that like these announcements spoiled anything from the movie, but
like how do you? I understand the movie part. How do you spoil an announcement? Like, do you have do people have like a preparation of how I'm going to open up Twitter and ingest the news in a proper setting?
So some people choose not to watch any trailers at all, and that's because part of promotion these days is giving out big news, giving out big surprises just to entice people to come into the theaters, right? Some people who've made their minds up about wanting to go see the movie anyway even refuse to watch the trailers, and they might even go as far as refuse to absorb any sort of announcement years ahead of when the movie's out.
This sounds so hard.
It's pretty much impossible at this point, which is why I think part of the thinking of Marvel like getting ahead of all the news cycles and just using it for promotion. Okay, Robert Downey Jr. is back. He's going to be Doctor Doom in the next set of Avengers movies, and
new mask, same task.
Yeah, huge news. I'm so excited, and you guys are going to be spending some time to talk about that, I'm sure, Tuesday.
I'm going to follow their lead. Yeah, I'll give your thoughts my thoughts on Robert Downey Jr. as what is he, Doctor Doom?
Doctor Doom, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm interested in your perspective. I sense John is very nervous about being on this podcast because he doesn't.
This is a big step up. I've listened to all the lead up to this. I mean, you guys have like these geniuses on. I have to follow Wai Ting from last week, who's bringing up all these characters that I've never heard of in my life. Of like,
I don't want that.
I really felt that the magenta of the color of his eye was obviously a reference to book number 6A42 from 1998, and that was the obvious connection here.
I never said anything near that of that sort, but I don't want that from you. I don't think anybody listening to this
not getting
wants
that from me, I promise.
No, I want your perspective, okay? Maybe as somebody who's more of a casual fan. Tell me exactly how you feel. That's all. I want the authentic John Pollock experience. Let WH and Rich handle the kind of really expert analysis if you're looking for that. But that's 9 p.m. tomorrow, exclusively for Post Wrestling Cafe members. If you can't watch it, if you're choosing to watch NXT instead, listen to Up Next. Do that ahead of time, and MCU Later will be there for you in the morning.
That's right. So all of that is coming up on Tuesday night. We have 5 shows for postwrestlingcafe.com members this week. In addition to MCU Later, Bruce and Kate will have a G1 show on Wednesday, and then WH and Eric Marcoche will have a show on Sunday. While we are on the road, they will be firing up New Japan World. So that is coming up this weekend. There will be a Rewind Away on Friday, as Wai and I will go back to September 2001. What was going on in the world? Well, the WWF responds to 9/11 with a very patriotic show in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, built around Kurt Angle, Steve Austin, and Chronic.
Oh, that's right. The invasion is the talk of the moment. Okay, we just got through reviewing and talking about the death. What did they call it? Who killed WCW? We just reviewed WWF's Invasion pay-per-view. Let's take it a few months further down the road to October of 2001. September of 2001.
Yes, this is going to be the next Vice spinoff. Who euthanized the Invasion?
Okay, let's find out. I guess who are the candidates?
Well, I would say most fans felt like this poster of Unforgiven when they were watching the Invasion on a weekly basis.
It's like I feel like that right now with my migraine.
Oh, that's probably apropos. Yeah. And then there will also be a Collision course this weekend coming out on Sunday. It'll be a day delayed, but of course it is SummerSlam night on Saturday. Wai and I are off to Cleveland on Friday, and we will not have a Rewind to SmackDown Friday. We will probably have something before SummerSlam while we're on the road, but we will be live Saturday night after the SummerSlam event with a post show. So look on the post site for all of your latest shows. But again, 5 shows this week on the cafe. $6 to get on board.
Yeah, it's really the best time. And shout out to all the shows that we released this past week, including an edition of Postmarks with John Kleinchester that's on the cafe feed, free for everybody. And also the latest G1 review covering days 5 and 6 with Karen and Kate, doing a great job of analyzing both those shows. Kate stepping up and doing the play-by-play for the very first time, and the first time those two have ever done a show together, showing really great chemistry, as I think we'd expect.
The Deadpool and Wolverine of post-wrestling.
Sure, in some ways, yeah.
Yeah. I was about to say I'm the blank, but then I would ruin something for someone.
Oh, you better be careful, John.
Yeah, so you just ruined that somebody's in Deadpool and Wolverine that I don't know of, and now I don't know that I didn't know that someone was going to be in there.
Tuesday at 9 p.m. you could spoil away, John. All right, and anything goes.
Oh, yes. You just wait. I'm gonna share my theater going experience, the physical theater that I was.
That's what I want to hear about.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. The audio, the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you had this problem. Like the first 15 minutes, my our screen, it was like out of sync.
You're kidding, really?
Yeah, for like the
15
first
minutes?
Yeah, like for the first number, it was completely out of sync. But then it fixed itself, thankfully, for the rest of the film. I was going to complain.
Okay, gotcha. I understood what you did there.
On to the next round of news we go. Wait, how far behind in the G1 are you?
I'm completely behind.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't like. It almost feels like it's a big weight on my shoulders now, trying to catch up. And I'm just resigned to the fact that I don't think I'll be watching every single block match. I'll be lucky if I even watch all the recommended matches at this point. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
I'm all caught up. I have
Very
managed.
impressive.
I gotta say, the 5-match combo. There was a time in my life where I did enjoy the 10 matches, but a shorter time span. Not anymore. Last week, that opening weekend, it was a modern miracle that I got through those shows. There's no way I could watch 10 matches of these in this quick proximity. 5 is a good amount. It's kind of like my morning routine. So Sunday, we won't go over all of the stuff because you have Karen and Kate to go through Sunday's show. But on Sunday, I thought they had a real excellent show, which was highlighted by several matches, really. But you had Hanare and Konosuke Takeshita. And Konosuke Takeshita, to me, has been the performer of this tournament. And there are several candidates right behind him. But to me, Takeshita has been as consistent at this incredible level so far, this many matches in. He had a match with Hanare on Sunday, and they were, to no one's surprise, just terrific chemistry between them. And I think the B block has been the really enjoyable block. Each one of these, you're getting a Takeshita match, you're getting a Uemura match, then you have the likes of Hanare that's right in the middle, Hiroki Goto as like the veteran that is able to hang with these guys. Like Goto to me has always been kind of underappreciated, and these G1s, you get to see why. It's not surprising to me that he did get the invite back this year to kind of fulfill that role as the oldest member of either block this year. And then you also had on the Sunday show, I thought El Phantasmo, another guy who I don't think gets enough focus. I think he got the best match out of Oleg Boltin that we have seen in the tournament so far. I thought just Phantasmo was fantastic in this match with Boltin as well. Not like Boltin, as we said, like you are watching this really raw green piece of clay, but you are seeing him with different performers that he is upping his game. And I just thought Phantasmo just had such a terrific, just worked off of him so well with selling the power spots. And then it's Phantasmo that to me was just great glue for Oleg Boltin here. And then today's show was the A block show that featured Sonata and Naito in the main event, a rematch from Wrestle Kingdom, which on the Naito scale, this was a good match overall. This was not the Jake Lee abomination that Naito had, but a nice match between these two. A screwed up Destino, which is kind of par for the course. Do you think this is Naito in his like 3D chess or 4D chess, we should say? I don't give him that benefit of the doubt. I think these Destinos are just getting screwed up on purpose because he hit like a pretty nice one after the botch today and won the match with it.
Yeah, if he's trying to tell that story, wouldn't it be more effective to just not hit any successful Destinos at all?
Well, that's it. He should be saving it so that he finally hits a picture perfect at the end for a big win. It's like he's screwing it up, but then hits it right afterwards. Shingo Takagi and Gabe Kidd. This was probably the match of the show that a lot of people have been raving about. The intensity was incredible in this match. Gabe Kidd is, to me, really elevating his stock a lot in the tournament. And I thought, as great as the match was, and Kidd ends up winning after a pair of pile drivers, and then afterwards, he sees Takagi, he goes to ice Takagi's neck, and he helps him up, and he puts his hand out. And the crowd has reacted like, wow, Gabe Kidd is showing like sportsmanship here. And Takagi accepts the handshake. And this crowd, they're like taking a minute to absorb this. And then Gabe Kidd attacks him. And they're like, it's ripped away from them. But it was picture perfect that Gabe Kidd one day will have quite the babyface run in him. Like, he is that anti-hero. And they're not ready to do it now. They shouldn't be. But I thought it was just an interesting kind of market study here to test the waters, and this crowd kind of bit on it of Gabe Kidd, that this is a guy that the audience wants to be behind. They're not allowed to at the moment, but I think he's been fantastic throughout this tournament as well when we're talking about people that are breaking through. So those are some of the keys today. Zack Sabre Jr. had his first loss, and Evil continued his undefeated streak. So Evil is on top by himself with 10 points. So he is basically assured a spot among the three to advance into the playoff round. But yes, Zach is following him with 8 points, and Great O'Con got on the board today with his first 2 points of the tournament as well. So they're off Tuesday, and they come back on Wednesday with the next G1 show. But I've got to say, overall, like there are some blemishes, but overall, I think like the match quality in particular in the B block, these B block shows are great. And today you got a pretty good A block show as well. So it's thus far, I don't, if you're comparing this to like the peak years, it's not that level, but I do think that as we get deeper into it and you have all these different scenarios, I think it is more wide open of all the different people that could be advancing to the playoffs, because you have 6 spots to advance to the playoffs and you have a lot of interesting contenders and Evil.
And what's the next show?
Wednesday is the next show. And unfortunately, after my ascension to the top of the mountain, I've taken a bit of a tumble. Not as bad as perhaps others will in this year's tournament on top. Maybe Evil's in for a fall from grace, but boy, I'm ahead of Randobot AI, or I'm tied with him now. I'm looking at this. I'm within a point of view. So it's still anyone's game here, but
oh yeah, it's a very tight race still. You know,
it's close. We're still just 1 week into this, but
look at this Collision Course reigning supreme here. Kate from Montreal and John Cena sitting atop the Post Wrestling Family C block standings at 28 points each, followed by Chop Tees, who not only a great T-shirt and merchandise supplier, but also a great predictor of G1 wrestling matches too. Second place with 27 points, and then third place I'm tied with Braden, birthday boy Braden. Or birthday week boy, Braden, at 26 points each.
Yes. Wednesday show, the tournament matches are Konosuke Takeshita and David Finlay in the main event. Ren Narita against Hiroki Goto. Jeff Cobb against Phantasmo, which should be tremendous. Hanare against Yuya Uemura, another very strong match. And Oleg Boltin against Yota Tsuji. So those are the 5 Wednesday morning. And then they go into the weekend with Saturday and Sunday cards. Bloodsport went down on Sunday. I did a review of the show on today's audio news update if you want to check that out. But the big news coming out of the show was after Josh Barnett defeated Bad Dude Tito, you could see him there throughout the night, seated in the front row. There he was, a guy that has been, really heavily involved behind the scenes with a lot of prominent people, and someone that, you're getting your face out there at a prominent event like Bloodsport, and I think it was impossible not to see Robert Pearson right there in the front row next to MVP.
Maybe he's MVP's advocate in his Bloodsport career going forward.
Okay, perhaps, yeah. I'm sure
interesting.
The Hurt Business's affiliate.
I would say so, yeah. But yeah, MVP challenging Josh Barnett.
and noting that his contract is set to expire soon, and he would not name where. I guess this was of some concern. Like, well, who could he possibly be talking about? But yes, his contract is coming due, as we all know, and looking to do a match with Josh Barnett, and they went over their history, and Barnett accepted. So look for that for a future Bloodsport. And of course, you know, as MVP noted in his promo, like, he is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and you have to imagine this is probably a kind of bucket list item for him to be able to do once he's contractually able to. And I guess and there were hints in the promo from Barnett too about if he's going to bring anyone with him. So you're kind of dangling that option out there as well.
It's a very exciting move for him post WWE, you know, to perhaps try another run at being a more active wrestler and having you know, that much more attached to beyond, I think, what he's made a name for in recent years as a manager. Somebody who might be able to show off some of his jiu-jitsu skills that he's been working on over the years. For somebody who at one point was very close to retirement, for him to enjoy all of this post-WWE attention and success, I think is wonderful. So I would love to see the entire Hurt Business do Bloodsport. You know, Bloodsport at this point has somehow turned into some sort of like strange neutral ground for every single wrestling promotion to be able to come in, whether or not you're signed. But even if you are signed, everybody can gather within this space where they're doing a different style of professional wrestling, and you can, you know, work together or beat people who might not be signed, but still put on a very, very special type of show every single time one of these is out.
Yeah, the show, it featured 10 matches, all under 10 minutes. This show just flew by. Like, I was sitting down and just planning to watch like a chunk of it, and ended up just watching the entire thing on Sunday. Some of the highlights included Julius Creed looked, first of all, he was against Matt Mikowski, who, of course, MMA background, fought for Elite XC way back in the day. I mean, somebody that really well-versed in this kind of style. He was excellent with Julius Creed. And to me, watching Julius Creed, like, this is the version of Julius Creed that you look at that could be a player in WWE. I thought he did a really great job, and he had an excellent opponent for it as well. And then you had, like, Brutus Creed, who just was like, he was playing a live version of Donkey Kong in this match. Like, this out of control guy that doesn't even understand his power, as he's just wailing on Tom Lawler with hammer fists. And you also had the surprising outcome of, like, Royce Isaacs beating Charlie Dempsey as well. And I kind of like the fact that they did that swerve, so it automatically, your audience is aware that just because these are NXT or WWE guys, it's not a given that they're going over in these respective matches as well. But the match that everyone needs to go see from this one, it's only 3 minutes, so you really don't have an excuse to miss it, is Speedball Mike Bailey and Akira. And what they did in these 3 minutes, I mean, it was just fantastic, and ended with this incredible, like, head kick. Like, if you remember the highlight of all those years that they put in all the video packages of Chuck Liddell head kicking Babalu Sobral right in the face. And this was the finish where Akira, he either sold like the greatest head kick spot ever, or this guy just got drilled. It looked that good. The way he sold this, and like he just bounced his like head off the mat, and then he's getting up as though he's been knocked out and he wants to continue and doesn't know that it's ended. Just the presentation was excellent, and that one was a standout that a lot of people were talking about. But I really enjoy these shows, and they never overstay their welcome, and you got to see a shoot tombstone here by Shayna Baszler to win her match as well, to work in a tombstone pile driver to get her win in the main event over Miyu Yamashita.
A shoot tombstone.
Yeah,
okay.
Like, I mean, this was
she really dropped her on her head.
Well, I mean, it's just proving that this match, this move could be used in an MMA context.
Would it be legal?
No, you're not allowed to like spike someone on their head. Like, there are just a straight drop on their head. You cannot do that.
But in Bloodsport, anything goes.
Bloodsport, they don't have those same restrictions. So there you go. That was Bloodsport. Ratings notes from Friday. This was going up against the opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games. SmackDown fell to 2,058,000 viewers and a 0.52 in the demo. It was their lowest viewership since June 14th and their lowest 18 to 49 audience of the year. And the opening ceremonies, WrestleNomics had reported that across all of NBC's platforms, the opening ceremonies did 28.6 million people and 15.1 on NBC by itself. Now, in Canada, SmackDown ended up doing a terrific number. It was their largest audience since the night before WrestleMania back in April, with 265,900 viewers and over 112,000 in the demo. So it was number 2 for the night in sports and number 1 in the demo. And again, this is going up against the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, which it's worth noting that the opening ceremonies were split between TSN and Sportsnet. So they're kind of graded with their own audiences as opposed to combining the audiences. But regardless, this was a really great number for SmackDown, and it's going against the opening ceremonies. It went against a CFL game, which is usually a big game on Friday night. And this was a taped show from the week prior. It's not like this was a very attractive SmackDown on paper that would necessitate such a large audience. But clearly Canada, when they have to choose between the opening ceremonies of the Olympics that come around every 4 years and a gauntlet match, they made their choice on Friday night. So took a hit in the US. Canada, give us more taped gauntlets from Omaha.
I have not been following much of the Olympics at all, so I probably would have made that choice myself.
Any of the Olympics at this point. I would like to keep up with it, but man, this weekend alone was just packed with stuff. I don't know how people can fit in more. And Rampage did 306,000 viewers and a .10, this featuring the Royal Rampage that took up 2/3 of the show, with Darby Allin getting the win. So he will go to Arthur Ashe Stadium in September. So Great American Bash on Tuesday night. It's the first of 2 Great American Bashes. These are both on Sci-Fi. And it was interesting tonight on Raw because all the promotion for NXT tomorrow night, it's not the women's title match. It's not the Heritage Cup. It's not even Elba Fire and Isla Dawn going down. All the promotion was around Joe Hendry's concert. And I thought that was very telling tonight that they saw Joe Henry as the major hook for the show. And I don't doubt that he is, he clearly they see him as the best chance of doing a number here on Sci-Fi, and that was obviously their strategy tonight.
In terms of online buzz, he feels like the biggest name in NXT right now, which is very fascinating, but they are running with it. They're not shying away from that. They're using it to their full advantage, and at this point, I can't see him not being with this company at some point.
So we'll get the Joe Hendry concert, and then Roxanne Perez, Thea Hale for the women's title, Tony D'Angelo versus Tavion Heights for the Heritage Cup, Elba Fire and Isla Dawn against Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, which Michael Cole noted on Raw. We could get Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend defending these titles against Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair on SmackDown Friday night, potentially.
Anything's possible.
It could happen. Mm-hmm. And then they've also added a 6-woman tag, JC Jane, Jasmine Nix, and Fallon Henley against Sol Ruka, Carmen Petrovic, and Lola Vice. And, of course, a contract signing with Ethan Page and Oro Mensah for the following week's Great American Bash. Dynamite on Wednesday in Greenville, South Carolina. They have stocked up this show in the last 24 hours. Will Ospreay takes on Lance Archer. Willow Nightingale takes on Chris Statlander in an eliminator bout for the CMLL women's title. And announced tonight, Hangman Page will face Darby Allin. Mark Briscoe, Tomohiro Ishii, and Orange Cassidy taking on Roderick Strong, Rouge, and of all the wrestling that went on this weekend, the wrestler of the weekend, Beast Mortos. Did you see his match with Hologram? He faced Commander on Friday at the ROH pay-per-view, and then 24 hours later faced Hologram. First of all, these Texas crowds, they were in love with these 2 matches. Those Texas shows have, I'm enjoying the atmosphere for them, but both of those matches, if you have the time, were phenomenal. Both the Commander and the Hologram matches, but Beast Mortos was he was the base in these 2, and he was outstanding. So another match worth checking out. And then Wednesday also has Bryan Danielson speaking, and Renee Paquette will interview Mariah May.
Cool.
Do you like what do you see as the outcome in Darby Allin and Hangman Page way?
So we got Allin taking on Jack Perry, and Page is set for.
He doesn't have an opponent.
Anybody
yet
at all in, you think, or is he just at this point waiting for the winner?
I'm curious if he is the option for Okada, who doesn't have a dance partner either. You did do the miscommunication spot last week with the with the buckshot. Maybe that is where we go with Hangman.
It's hard for me to see Page winning at this point. He's being positioned as such a principal figure and such a hot, heel in the making. And so I think Darby probably loses somehow.
There you go. All your news can be found postwrestling.com. And tonight's Raw took place at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul, Minnesota. 12,059 tickets out, according to WrestleTix, so a great attendance. And it was showing both online and during the show, but Jesse Ventura was there for the show, met with Paul Levesque. They showed on the video. That was it. I thought maybe we would get an appearance by Jesse on the show, but they didn't do anything with Jesse beyond the cameo.
When was the last time he appeared, and is this significant for any other reason than it's Jesse Ventura?
So he had done an interview about a month or two ago about being in talks with WWE, and it seemed like he was, with Vince out, he was more willing to have discussions with WWE. If you followed like Jesse's, his history of like, I would wonder if his thought process is in alignment with this company. But obviously, I mean, he feels there's he's not just showing up here to watch a wrestling show.
What do you mean by that? You mean politically?
I think politically, I think for a lot of the things that he has stood for in his career, but at the same time, he was very outspoken about this company in '99, and then turned around and did SummerSlam that year as a referee. So he's always had this weird up and down relationship with the company. When it's been convenient, he's worked with them, and then at other times he's been outspoken against them. And it would seem that during this regime, he is on good terms, and the fact that they showed this tells you WWE is on good terms with him. I don't know if it'll lead to anything. I don't know what you do with a Jesse Ventura in this day and age, but maybe they'll have some kind of they put him over big, called him one of the greatest commentators of all time. Like, they treated him like a legend in this brief mention.
Interesting. All right.
Seth Rollins starts at the show with the most ridiculous ref shirt ever. He comes out, it's like this tight ref shirt with these big puffy arms, with matching cowboy boots. And Michael Cole compares this to past guest referees at SummerSlam, including Triple H in 2011, Shawn Michaels in 97, and the aforementioned Jesse Ventura at 2 SummerSlams. And Rollins calls out the two morons, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. So they each come out, and they have been told they are not allowed to touch one another, or else the match is off, and they also can't touch Seth Rollins. So Punk rolls to the floor at this news, and Drew calls him a coward. And Punk explains, "I'm not afraid what you're going to do to me. I'm afraid what I'm going to do." Rollins explains he has the power and says that there's no other referee willing to officiate you two. So if you do anything to me, I can just turn in this ref shirt and you guys don't have a match. There is a famine when it comes to referees in WWE, and Rollins is the last hope to be an official. No one else could referee this match. It hangs by the balance.
Yeah, funny. I don't think they've ever run into that issue, but there is precedent for this. It's Drew attacking and refusing to apologize to a couple referees.
So Drew says he tries to appeal to Seth, stating how Punk is a cancer. We're the true workhorses, and we're looking out for WWE's future. Punk is the real enemy. Rollins explains he does hate Punk, but he also hates Drew. And Rollins then goes over the rules for the match. He says there's only one rule. They will listen to what I have to say. If you're outside of the ring, maybe I'll count. Maybe not. Disqualifications, they'll be at my discretion. I'm thinking they should have hired Red Shoes, especially during this time of year.
I think Red Shoes would look great in that puffy referee shirt.
It's playoff rules. And Punk hopes that Seth refs better than he dresses and tells Rollins that whatever you do, I don't need your help. Drew states that he hates CM Punk, compares him to Charles Manson, and Drew McIntyre, he goes to the supermarket and people chant Punk's name at Drew at the supermarket, which is pretty intrusive.
I would say so. Mm-hmm.
He says how back at the Rumble, I wasn't even trying to hurt you, and I put you out for 7 months. And on Saturday, I'm going to violently assault you. It's not a wrestling match, and I won't stop until your heart stops. And it's so great that I'm going to be paid so much money to do something I would do for free. And Punk takes a moment and states how he was absent for 10 years and they kept chanting my name. He was leaving these pauses for them to chant his name, and it took the crowd a little bit to kind of get going with these chants. They state how they chant my name, they sing his song referring to Rollins, but Drew, you're just the third wheel. And says that you guys have Punk derangement syndrome, which is might be the worst selling CM Punk shirt if they go that direction. PDS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And does Excedrin fix that? You think?
No. It's no. There is no cure for Punk derangement syndrome. It's well, quite a few people in the industry probably have this. He says that hurting me was the best thing to happen in your career, Drew, but this Saturday it's going to be the worst thing to ever happen. And now Drew continues to dumb himself out of positions, and he's going to do the same at SummerSlam. Unlike you, Drew, I have the heart, and I have the people chanting my name. What do you have, Drew? And to that answer, Drew pulls out the bracelet, and Punk is furious, but he can't do anything. And that concluded our segment with the three of them going into SummerSlam on Saturday, and really the big segment of the show that they kicked off with.
Yeah, I thought a really strong go-home segment between these two. I think these two, Drew and Punk, have been excellent together throughout every step of the storyline. Whether or not they're sharing the stage with one another, even when they're just talking to each other, you can feel the grudge. It's believable. I think they both had really great lines. Both of them are, at this point, really two of the strongest promos in the entire company. And what are we, 7 months into this build? They definitely have not felt like they've overstayed their welcome at all. It in fact doesn't even feel like they've really peaked this yet. So I predict that this feud will somehow continue after SummerSlam. It has to, because there's just so much more money to be made, I think, with this pairing. Punk, I thought in this, in this segment, did a good job of sounding like the lead babyface here. He's the guy you probably want to see win at the end of all of this, I guess, depending on whether or not you suffer from PDS. Rollins is definitely in a bit of a tricky role here, trying not to feel like the third wheel, but I think he's doing a good job of fitting into the storyline and feeling like he has a reason to be there. He's kind of promising a special stipulation for this type of match that are under his own, discretion. So some form of a no DQ match is what I think he's sort of hinting at. And he's like an attractive enough personality with equal hatred for the two of them that he just seems to fit into this role pretty well.
Yeah, I think this is the best built match on the show Saturday. It feels like the biggest match on the show, and I'm curious where the placement of the match goes on this card as well.
I think it depends on what you see ending with Cody and Solo.
I'll tell you this: if Roman is not showing up, I could make a very strong argument to put this on last.
Perhaps, yeah, because I certainly feel... Well, the other thing is, like, if Gunther's going to beat Priest, I think that would justify maybe its top billing as well. I predict one of the championship matches will go on last, most likely Cody versus Solo, if it means Roman might be making an appearance. But in terms of, like, most fan interest, this one might be it.
So, strong segment. I thought this was really well done segment. It took up the first 20 minutes of the show. We go to the Judgment Day's clubhouse that has been vandalized, and that means the end of the PlayStation. Will it be replaced? I like that this we move cities, but this clubhouse stays like stagnant, and it's been vandalized over the past week. So it's like they did not design this clubhouse damaged, or maybe it was done within the last hour.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Nobody
really tell.
noticed. No one. This whole building full of people roaming around. No one noticed this vandalism taking place.
Well, I couldn't really tell that there was anything wrong with it. It always looks like.
It kind of just looks like the same dump that they're always in. Multiple segments per show, but.
Well, the idea is there. I mean, really, the breaking of the PlayStation is the biggest hurt here. And poor Carlito was so heartbroken about this PlayStation. You'd figure, like, guys on their main roster salary would be able to pull together some money just to, get maybe a used PlayStation off a Facebook Marketplace at this point. But
this is going to go against his downside, I bet, if they want to replace that. So, right. Rhea thinks it's obvious who did this. The detective's hard at work, and Rhea asks Balor and JD, why is Carlito still around? We didn't get that answer by the end of the night.
So the fact that like we have to have Rhea Ripley kind of jump to that conclusion that Liv is the one to do it. might seem to hint towards Dom actually being the one to do it, or maybe one of these others, that are in there that we're not suspecting, but perhaps somebody working together with Liv, which I'm assuming will all reveal itself.
If this reveal leads to the fire burning inside of Carlito because of the PlayStation, then this feud is about to go to the next level.
That's what Carlito's been missing, yes. A motivation to take his career to the next level, and a broken PlayStation might be just that.
Priest walked in after the break. He assumes it also was Liv. And Balor explains he's going to face Gunther alone tonight. And they argue about taking care of Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, as Carlito says he's going to go speak with Adam Pearce. First match of the show was Otis and Akira Tozawa with Maxine against the Creeds with Chad Gable in their corner. And Otis is wearing a free Otis t-shirt. I was not aware he was imprisoned.
Yeah, I don't know if they were just, maybe they were selling this already and he just never brought it out on screen until now, or maybe they were just really late at the printing shop and they only got this made now. Months, it feels like. It's been a while since he's actually been freed. So
yeah, it would have been hard for him to wear it earlier when he was still with Chad Gable because he was there by his own choice.
That's a good point. Maybe that's it. And he's trying to squeeze some more merchandising dollars out of that.
And then we heard Michael Cole talk about the Creeds kicking some ass over the weekend at Bloodsport.
Yeah, a little bit surprising, but at this point, they seem happy to acknowledge the existence of this thing, and why wouldn't they? This is Michael Cole, Cage Match Cole we're talking about, who's aware of everything.
Nick Khan's favorite GCW property.
That's right. Maybe Brett Lauderdale getting a shout out soon enough.
So Tozawa landed a spinning roundhouse and a missile dropkick onto Brutus, followed with a tope suicida. Julius then pulls Brutus to the floor. We go to the break, come back, huge hot tag to Otis, and he sends Julius shoulder first into the corner, rips off the shirt for a caterpillar on Julius. When Brutus stops him on the buckle, gets back dropped off, and Gable is knocked off the apron, and the Creeds then double team Otis, suplexing him off the turnbuckle, and they pin Otis in 7 minutes and 46 seconds.
I thought a pretty good match, I think most notable because we got to see the new heel wrestling style for the Creeds. They're certainly more aggressive. They're almost more stereotypically heel. So it's a good role for them, to be under Chad Gable, and they're just kind of the two like machines that go in there and just destroy. And Otis, I thought, got a good, strong underdog showing as well, despite, taking the beating here. So they are still committed to the storyline while using it as sort of like a route to the Wyatt Sicks as well.
Well, Chad Gable gets involved after the match. They hold Otis down as Gable starts attacking him, puts an ankle lock onto Otis when Maxine leaps onto the back of Chad. And Maxine is ready to go. She's ready to throw her Manami Toyota's tape study and put it into action here on Chad.
She should be at Bloodsport next, I think.
That's the long term. And she puts her fists up. She's ready to go here with Chad Gable. Mm-hmm. And then the lights go down, and we get three of the Wyatts walking out with Gacy, Rowan, and Loomis. When Nikki appears in the ring with a high cross laying them out, Gable retreats, leaving the Creeds for dead, and he is walking up the ramp backward as Uncle Howdy walks out. So Gable runs away into the distance, and we would get the announcement later that Gable and the Creeds want to face the three of them next week in what will be our first Wyatt Sicks in-ring match during this incarnation of the Wyatts.
That's right. Yeah, so we had our first, I guess, in-ring unmasking of the remaining three Wyatt family members who have yet to do so. And they're going by their old characters. I mean, they are acknowledged to be the same people as who previously existed. In fact, Pierce says that they are signed to wrestlers' contracts, and making a match with them is no problem. I guess like punishing them for murdering people, he could just overlook because they look cool. They sell a lot of merch.
Maybe next week we get a swerve. They unmask, and it's Matt Makowski and Tom Lawler looking for their revenge.
Yeah, I think they'd be interesting Wyatt family members,
led by
sure.
MLJ into Raw.
Sure. Yeah, it's they've been good at giving us a little bit more of a reveal for these Wyatt family members every single week, and they paced it really well to the point where next week, I think, is going to be a big major test. How is this going to look in ring?
I put this in the main. I put it in a key segment on Raw. Maybe not at the end of the show. They might hold it off till the end of the show. It's going to be for that reason. Like whether it's a good match or not. Like that's the whole presentation and how it comes off. That's what you've been building up for all these months. Is how does this translate for the match? Like this. You could get a great crowd that loves this. This could also be totally flat. It's like I don't know what to expect next week.
I think it depends on the way that they want to frame it. Like I almost feel like this should be a squash, and I want to. I feel kind of sorry for the Creed brothers being in this role because they're just trying to get these new heel characters over, and they're having to face like the most ultimate mythical or semi-mythical characters that are just debuting right now. But I don't know if I expect this one to last long. I think the big question is, do we see any sort of special lighting, special bullshit effects that throughout all the attacks has been present, but when the bell rings and they actually do a match, is that stuff going to go away? Next week is when we find out what they've learned from the Bray Wyatt experiments in ring.
I'm sure Lee Fitting's been going through all his ESPN archives for inspiration on how best to frame the Wyatt Sicks in their first in-ring match. But yeah, the idea of this going like 10, 12 minutes, that's a risky proposition.
No, yeah.
Then Carlito returns, and he says the match is made. And they're like, great, you're facing Sami Zayn. He says, no, it's Dominic against Sami Zayn, not me. And Dominic then wants Carlito to handle Jey Uso, and Rhea tells Carlito to handle Jey alone.
Yeah. I think Carlito's been pretty funny, like in this role. He's really kind of found a great comedic fit as part of the Judgment Day. He's an idiot, but not to the degree of R-Truth that almost gets to the point of like, so hard to believe in that it just doesn't really work long term. Carlito is just enough of an idiot to just be entertaining, and I like his role at this point.
Sheamus against Bronson Reed. We had, they went 10 minutes here. After the commercial break, Sheamus landed a knee strike, ate a DVD, and then he hits the white noise off the turnbuckle, goes for the 10 beats, and as he's setting up for the brogue kick, Pete Dunne appears from the side of the ring and nails him with a shillelagh, and then hides to the side of the ring as Reed hits the tsunami to win. And afterward, everyone is still questioning, what's Pete Dunne's deal? Why is this guy so mad?
Hope we find out soon,
I don't. I think we could just leave this unanswered for weeks. Let's go through
so?
the whole program and we never get to the bottom of this.
Mm-hmm. I think like Sheamus has been doing a great job along with Bronson Reed at like making these mid-card matches like feel special. He's done a great job of establishing this like hard-hitting style to the point where like it's you're going to be in for some pretty good quality wrestling in the middle of these shows. The Pete Dunne aspect of it I don't sense is as hot, nor is the mystery of why he's attacking him. I don't know if I think people are clamoring for that answer. So I would just hope that they kind of move this along a bit faster and give us a good reason for Pete Dunne to continue to do these attacks.
They recapped Priest and Gunther's brawl from last week, and we get a promo from Damian Priest about living in the street and being raised. Gunther grew up with money and everything being handed to him, and calls Gunther an asshole. And he lived to fight for everything he's got. Now he's willing to die for it.
Right. Yeah.
So a fight to the death on Saturday.
Well, at least for one of them, yes. I don't know if he'll die in this match. I found it. He says, if I'm street trash, that means I'm a Puerto Rican badass, and he'll accept that. And then he proceeds to call Gunther a European product of ingenuity, which means he's an asshole.
That's typically,
Is that what it means?
From A to B to C. That's usually what he really. That's some word twisting.
You're a European product of ingenuity. I mean, that's the first time insult I've heard. It's a passable promo here.
That was a Vince McMahon style promo.
A European product of ingenuity. I thought that it was a passable promo, but I mean, at this point, like as what I feel like I can confidently say we're nearing the end of the Priest title reign experiment. I still feel like there's something missing about his promo that I think we've come to expect of a champion level talent. And I thought it was like he gets his words out fine, but he's yet to like evoke much emotion. The closest he's come is with Gunther saying those things about him, and Priest just simply having to not even say much and just react by, fighting. The moment he starts kind of talking in this tone, he starts to lose me a little bit.
If he's on the ball, and he might be, I think before the end of the G1, we get a new submission from Xavier Jr. European Ingenuity.
European product of Ingenuity. Absolutely. Yes.
So they go through the SummerSlam. Dude, they're doing a SummerSlam kickoff on Friday. They're doing a 3-hour pre-show on Saturday, which will have a CM Punk sit-down with Michael Cole and Peter Rosenberg interviewing Damian Priest.
3 hours pre-show?
There's 7 matches. How much can you talk for 3 hours?
The show is likely to be 4 hours, and then you got 3 hours of just a panel talking. So, I mean, they want to make it a full-day event, I guess. Full work shift. And you got the press conference.
Of course, yes. More talking. Braun Breaker video. He's not here to talk down Sami Zayn. He's at the top of his game. Stand-up comedy. And he calls Money in the Bank. It was a rookie mistake. And there's nowhere for Zayn to run this time. And he's already preparing for life after WWE as a graphic appears for all the details for how you can get tickets to Sami Zayn and Friends Do Cleveland.
Yeah, look at let's buy your tickets now to Sami Zayn's retirement plan.
Man, guy had the QR code already. I mean, this is what a villain. He said that he's training and that on Saturday, Sammy, the joke will be on you while the IC title will be on me. Uh-huh. This was one of the most ridiculous things on the show.
I liked it. I mean, number one, it was like, okay, great promotion for a fellow, like, TKO event. All right, this is great synergy, isn't it, John? Corporate synergy.
Could you imagine Scott Steiner cutting this promo?
I think Scott Steiner has said much more ridiculous than this. A Scott Steiner comedy show is I think something that they should really consider for these TKO weekends.
I mean, he was on a comedy show for the last couple of years at WCW, twice a week.
Right, that's right. Yes, I think Braun could have taken this one step further. He should have like went to some local comedy club and should have like gone on stage to cut this exact promo. Just do some mic work, spear some hecklers maybe.
Knock.
Oh goodness. Somebody already tried that. Didn't go so well for them in the WWE.
No. Well, there we go. Then we have Jey Uso against Carlito. He immediately hit Jey hit Carlito with a super kick. Carlito managed a magic screw watching some Sonata. They go to the commercial. Spine buster by Carlito. I think that was his big offense. Got a schoolboy and then a spear by Jey as Carlito was in the midst of eating his apple. So when he was speared, the apple got spit in the air. 750. I can't believe this one's 750. I have nothing to add about this. J1.
I don't know if I've ever seen a man get distracted via reaching for his own apple and proceeding to pose with his own apple, and I guess chewing it. But this was a loss for Carlito via apple chewing. Got distracted enough to get hit with the spear. So very skippable match, maybe the most skippable match on the show.
Apple a day keeps the doctor away, but it leaves you on the ground being pinned by Jey. Oh boy.
Yes. That's, maybe you should be
John Pollock
doing the stand-up.
Does Cleveland.
Yeah.
Jackie Redmond interviews Selena Vega. She's in an arm brace, but the arm feels good. She said that getting attacked by Team Forehead last week, it's taught her who she is. And who she was the victim of a 3-on-1 attack, which consistent because then Team Forehead shows up. I don't have a name for them, so that's what we're going with.
Team Forehead is, I mean, as much as we've gotten so far. It's kind of catchy. Yeah.
And they attacked her, and they broke her arm again and left her laying. And then she was attended to by the trainers with Lyra, Chance, and Carter. And that was it. Selena's she's going to have this permanent arm injury.
Not the worst thing in the world for her. I think it's made her a lot more interesting as a wrestler than she was prior to this.
To have one arm?
Well, to have a cast that she can use, doing the Bob Orton thing, of course.
Well, maybe she should have like a actual cast.
Maybe she'll upgrade to that. Sure, this did look like a
Metal.
more severe injury. But if I'm Team Forehead, I mean, I'd be thinking she's gonna use this on us again. Shouldn't we try to speed up the healing here? Shouldn't we try to give her ice packs and just do everything we can to maybe acupuncture? Anyway, it's pretty good heat, and I think for Zelina, it's they're clearly behind her because they've given her consistent microphone time every single week now. It's just a question of how far they want to go with her because I don't know. I think it's still a pretty big gulf between where she is right now and the Rhea Ripleys and even the Liv Morgans of this division.
There are highlights of the Japanese tour where they mention Kofi Kingston being on the tour but re-injuring his shoulder to explain why he was not on the show tonight. So Xavier Woods against Karrion Kross. But before we get to the match, this is happening tonight, not SummerSlam. Karrion Kross speaks and he doubts Kofi Kingston's injury is real and that Kingston didn't want to be in this hellhole of St. Paul, Minnesota. I thought for sure this is where Jesse Ventura is coming out to confront his doppelganger.
Jesse, well, in terms of voice, yes. How about in terms of politics?
I don't think they are doppelgangers.
Political debate between Jesse Ventura and Karrion Kross is one I would love. Yes.
Well, that did not happen. He still believes in Woods, and he wants him to join the Final Testament. And he also wants him to tell all the people that the power of positivity is a lie and that Kofi should have retired after losing the title in 6 seconds, which Kofi Online corrected and said that he lost the title in 8 seconds. I'm sure he has relived each one of those seconds on a daily basis. No mention. I can't remember who was involved in that title switch, but Kofi definitely lost the match.
Somebody
to a
not
ghost.
Important.
Xavier jumps him, drop kicks him through the ropes. Karrion Kross, who, by the way, is recruiting this guy to be part of his stable, screams, "You're the worst king of the ring this company has ever had." Why does he want this guy?
I think just to cause trouble, maybe, but to exert power and control, maybe. Maybe he feels he can turn his career around.
Okay.
And he's telling Woods, this is what you've achieved so far.
You're an awful wrestler. You've been awful for years.
Yeah.
And I can turn your career into something.
It's definitely not true. There are far worse kings of the ring than Xavier Woods.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many, in fact. Mm-hmm. Akam nails Woods from the floor, but then rebounds, super kicks Kross, does a comeback here. Razor runs into the post, and then Woods misses the elbow off the top and is hit with the final prayer, a variation of another move that the Ghost used to use, and wins in 6:21. Right. And Cole asks if Xavier is being worn down and might join them. I can't tell you how the lows that this feud hits on a weekly basis for me. I just think this thing has not.
It's
clicked.
been 2 months of wearing this guy down. I'm just looking for some direction, some movement in all of this. Okay, he's already taken Kofi out. It's been a long time now. Woods is trying to fight back. We're getting. Was this the first singles match? I don't even know. It feels like it might be the second or the third at this point. If this isn't enough to either convince Woods to join or to convince Karrion Kross that this band is never joining, then I don't know what would be. I'm ready for this thing to progress into some sort of significant chapter.
Then we saw the video with Jesse Ventura meeting with Paul Levesque, and something we skipped over was Kathy Kelly. This was gigantic news. She is with The Miz, who announces he is hosting SummerSlam in his hometown on Saturday. R-Truth walks in. We get some in-your-house jokes, and we are asked about The Miz bringing hors d'oeuvres to the party on Saturday. This was so funny. It was so good. I bought my ticket for SummerSlam as soon as this segment ended. I wasn't sold on this show. The matches look fine, but then I heard this. I bought a replica belt too.
Well, didn't you already start lining up for tickets when you heard about Jelly Roll performing?
That's right. We're getting a concert on Saturday too.
Yeah. Well, one song at least.
What if they kill two birds with one stone and The Miz does the concert with Jelly Roll?
That would be wonderful for me.
They do a rendition of What's Up with R-Truth.
Yeah. That would be great. Sure. It's something for The Miz to do. You would expect him to have some sort of role in a Cleveland SummerSlam, and I think this feels as good as any. Certainly, I don't know, more interesting than a match.
Next up, it's the interview. Jackie Redmond is with Sami Zayn. Can we get your reaction to Braun Breaker? And Sami Zayn reminds us, I also did a comedy show the night before Money in the Bank too, and I won. Joke's on you, Breaker. It says, Breaker underestimated me the last time. I know he's not doing that now because he's attacking me each week, and I'm not trying to teach him a lesson at SummerSlam. This is just about beating his ass. And then Zayn walks towards the ring for his match with Dominic Mysterio. But before that, there's a lot going on with Dominic Mysterio in his personal life, because then we go outdoors where Liv Morgan, the vandalizer, she's also the pyromaniac because she has lit a trash can on fire. She's burning photos of Dom, which his eyes are crossed out on. She's burning his merch, and said how she placed Dominic on a pedestal, actually on a production truck. And he's not a man. He's Rhea's little bitch. And she wishes that she could take back every tear that she wasted on him, as she is crying, by the way, during this promo. So instead, she is going to make his life hell. And she's going to complete the revenge tour by beating Rhea Ripley and leaving Dom with whatever is left. And she is going to hear those 3 words at SummerSlam: Women's World Champion. Mm-hmm. And then she took Darby Allin's fire gun and just lit the production truck on fire, and it exploded in St. Paul.
Oh my!
No, that was not it.
Did Cody's van catch on fire?
Oh, it did. Yeah.
I don't know if they should be making fun of that.
This is a pretty old photo of Dominic, so I'm sure.
Well, these trucks, I was just gonna say, they don't. I mean, it's not really, I guess, monetarily, I don't know, economical to change them up all the time. I continue to actually wonder why they still put like the wrestlers' faces on them when like there's still like a pretty busy turnaround for certain guys. So I don't know. It's useful for moments like this, I guess. I'm loving the evolution of the Liv Morgan character, and of course we have to open up the suggestion that this could be a bluff to set up whatever, Dominic turn on Rio or something.
I think that's where everyone is leaning towards this, and only the only question of who is,
or it could be Finn.
Yeah, like I think it's they've set up multiple ways of where this can go, but I think everyone can see where the end result is, but doesn't know who it will be with.
Yeah,
so.
And is the reveal going to be on Saturday, or will it be on the Monday afterwards?
Sami Zayn against Dominic Mysterio, a short match here. Cole makes the note that Dominic's had great stamina of late.
What is that supposed to mean? I wonder.
He's having a lot of sex.
How would Cole know that?
He doesn't necessarily know that, but he's making note of his stamina. He's seeing the byproduct. He's not insinuating anything, but you're led to believe that.
I see. It couldn't just be him training.
Rhea's been gone for all these months. They haven't seen each other, but he's been keeping his cardio up. And we know this guy doesn't go to the gym, right?
Well, how do we know that?
Well, I'm just stating. This was Michael Cole's line. I'm just trying to decipher it.
Interesting.
Three Amigos by Dominic. He goes to the top. Zayn gets out of the way, lands an exploder, and then he sets up for the haluva when Carlito and JD run in. So we get a disqualification after the attack when Zayn hits the Blue Thunder Bomb and is going for the cover. 8 minutes, 9 seconds this one goes. Jay runs out to help Zayn, spears JD, sends Dominic out and lands a tope onto all three. And then Zayn teases his own dive when Braun Breaker jumps him, and Breaker runs the ropes, but instead is caught with a boot and an exploder from Zayn, and he goes for the haluva, but Braun rolls out of the ring.
They gave Sami a lot here, in ring, by frequently figuring out when to intercept Breaker's spear with his big boot. So this was a week where he did not get destroyed. And for a go-home show, I think it'll probably indicate that he's dropping the championship on Sunday, because I can't see them having Braun Breaker, look bad. I don't see them having Braun Breaker lose twice to Sami Zayn. That's probably the main thing. And also the fact that Sami is continuing to build this feud with the Judgment Day along with Jey Uso. I believe they already have a title match, probably earned, after last week's win. So that's really his retirement strategy, not the comedy show.
Our next Wyatt therapy session focused on Dexter Lumis. with the voiceover stating, "They laughed as you were drowning, but there is freedom in drowning."
I don't know if this is an Uncle Howdy.
It was his voice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
So who left him drowning, I wonder? What is he speaking?
I was going through the Rolodex of Dexter Lumis angles. I don't recall a drowning.
Okay. Well, a metaphor.
Braun drowned in one of those cinematic matches with Bray, right?
I don't remember.
There was some kind of drowning in there.
It's a metaphorical drowning, I guess.
The problem is that they started off with like these really heavy, deep videos, and then for this and Nikki Cross, there's nothing to these.
Well, the problem is they don't have actual material with their.
But they're not
lives.
even making stuff up. Like this is fiction.
So again, like anything they make up will pale in comparison to what you got from Rowan and from Bo Dallas. So I think
Then why even do this?
they want to give some visual introduction and focus on these guys, but they're choosing to do it like in a pretty quick way without that much substance in story. And I think
does
it's
Joe
fine.
Gacy, do they get one in at the buzzer next week before the match? Does Joe Gacy
I do.
get his-
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, everybody's had one by this point. So I'm liking this new look from Dexter Lumis. He looks like the what's this dude's name?
Looks like Van Hammer after he went to a cult.
I was gonna say the guitarist from Korn. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude in dreadlocks. I think it works for him.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly a contrast from the last look.
Yeah. But in-ring is going to be the big test, again, not just the presentation, but are these guys going to be called upon to look impressive in-ring?
Is this dude married to Indy Hartwell in canon?
I don't think so. I think that marriage is
Annulled
once you commit murder.
I think he committed murder when he left NXT, and she was still.
Oh, that's true. She was. It's not much.
She was very loyal.
Well, maybe they're just separated. Divorce papers take a while, I think, to finalize.
Maybe she didn't know the identity until tonight.
She tweeted about it, I believe.
Oh, okay.
The moment he debuted.
Okay. Pierce is with Gable and the Creeds, and they set up the match for next week. Ripley has a black rose and calls Liv's Revenge Tour a fantasy, and the reality is your tour ends on Saturday. There's no more running, as they show highlights of Rhea destroying Liv's shoulder and Liv taking her out with the chair earlier this year. You tried to affect my family, and it's time for Rhea to get her revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Lyra Valkyria, Kayden Carter, and Katana Chance against Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, and Zoey Stark. And Carter leaps off the backs of both partners with a double knees into the corner. They send the heels to the floor as they get the commercial break. Pat McAfee notes, Kayden Carter is a huge Minnesota Vikings fan. She doesn't want to lose here. It's like, oh, okay, well, they're not really playing up her hometown roots here. And then I looked up, I was like, she was born in Florida. It's like, okay, so
she loves the football team. I mean, that's good enough.
Is that like...
Hey, listen, Brody Lee loved the Leafs, okay? And that was good enough, I think, for people to adopt him.
Okay, so it's just the same as Kayden Carter and the Minnesota Vikings here in the adjacent St. Paul.
This was a huge match for her, yes.
Okay. Carter sends Chance into a code breaker and then a gut wrench by Lyra. Save gets made, and then as they go for the after party, Stark stops it when Deville yanks Carter out of the ring, and Stark drills Chance into the face and hits the Z360, winning at 8 minutes and 36 seconds. And then they put the guns out, and out come, all in black, Damage Control. And they clear the ring. Sky hits the over the moonsault to the floor, and they stand in the ring, reclaiming Raw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at this point, like with this stable, I guess they were away because they were working in Japan, is my assumption. But it feels like they've been on this rebranded Damage Control for several weeks now, and I've still really yet to feel like the brunt of like what the repackaging is, other than like them dressing in the leather. They don't feel any more intimidating, other than the way they look.
They've got a hand signal.
Well, they've got a hand signal now. But I get the sense they didn't really communicate with Team Forehead about their hand signal, because they also do this gun sign, except theirs is with 2 fingers, because they're shooters, you see. And I guess these 3 damage control are shooters as well, except they point their guns up.
Yeah, and then I don't know if they went over this with Kyrie either, because I don't know what she's doing here.
They're just looking cool. All right, that's half the battle. So
why don't we have a hand signal after all these years?
Well, let's make one. Sure. How about this? Like,
what is
I don't know.
Is that
Just
a leaf?
How about just like one of these?
Feels like you're stretching.
Yeah, this is our hand signal. Yeah, as we stretching is very important in our age. Yeah.
Okay, that works.
So is damage control baby faces now or what? What is this?
Oh, I don't know.
It I guess it doesn't matter.
They're baby faces if they're feuding with the shooters.
Yeah.
Now, where's Zelina Vega? Is Zelina Vega a shooter? Is she a?
She's a baby face. Okay. Who happens to cheat sometimes.
Okay. Gunther is in an empty arena from earlier today. He offered Damian the easy way out to hand over the title, but the reaction of Damian was that of a weak man who has no control over his own emotions. He exposed Damian Priest as an emotional wannabe that uses this great business to cure his childhood trauma. He says, Finn, I used to look up to you as one of the best wrestlers in the world, and you're still a great wrestler. But let's be honest, you were destined for much greater. But then you started associating with those Judgment Day weirdos and became street trash like them. I want to see how much of the old Finn Balor is still there tonight. And Damian Priest, I will never forgive you for abusing this great sport, for covering up your pathetic existence. I will save this great sport and the World Championship this Saturday.
Oh.
I just wanted this for the whole third hour. Just
Great
keep
stuff.
talking. Every thought about every wrestler, just go through them all. I want to hear his thoughts about everybody.
Rent out an entire arena, like a stadium even, and just have Gunther take up the whole space, okay? Because that's how big this guy's personality feels. Great stuff as usual from Gunther here. He's not missed once in one of these promo segments, and I thought spoke a lot of truth about maybe how certain people feel about Finn Balor. This guy got called a European product of Ingenuity, so I mean, you knew he was going to come back with strong material.
It's like, let me make it clear. When I called you street trash, I by no means felt that meant Puerto Rican badass. Yeah. Not at all. That was lost in translation.
Yeah. I can't wait for this guy to have a championship reign. The only thing that feels like is missing from this photo is a belt on his shoulder or around his waist, and he's going to be just an excellent top level heel.
If he wins this title in Germany, or if he goes into that weekend as champion in Germany, they always do the post title win celebration on Raw or SmackDown. I want them to be in Germany. I want them to do a shoot parade for this guy. I think people would show up for it. Just do something.
In Germany? You really think so?
Why not?
Certain people would show up for it, but I guess I wonder if he'd be big enough deal to draw that big of a crowd. Yeah.
Well, then you hire all the indie talent that you fired when NXT UK was put out of business, and you give them all roles as fans.
I would tune in, yes.
Then there was a promo for SmackDown's debut on the USA Network, September 13th, and this was shots of various wrestlers mixed in with various Olympic athletes for the U.S. team that they had interspersed in this promo. But this is the first promo I can recall for the SmackDown move.
We're not that far away.
No, it's September 13th.
A little over a month, yeah.
Kathy Kelly interviews Damage Control. The only reason they've been that the shooters, as we'll call them, Team Forehead, has been running Raw is because we've been gone. You could not tell me. I had no idea they'd been gone, but they're back.
I guess they were taken out by Team Forehead at some point.
Well, now they're back. Kai challenges Deville for a match next Monday, and she's going to cut the head off of the snake. So another match to the death in the near future. Back to the clubhouse, and Balor says, we got into this mess together. We will get out of it after SummerSlam. And Rhea offers help for Balor tonight, but he insists he is doing it on his own and questions, do you not think I can do this on my own? And Ripley and Priest explain, we know you can do it. We just don't trust Gunther. So out goes Balor. Great game plan he had.
They've been having, obviously, Rhea and Priest very much playing the baby faces of this entire group, and Balor has really kind of stuck to being, like your stereotypical cowardly heel throughout the whole thing. And so this felt like a very uncharacteristically noble act from Balor, choosing to go in on his own to prove something to his fellow stablemates. And of course, he is a leading suspect in working with Liv Morgan throughout all of this, so this might be setting up a turn. Of course, this also sets up his babyface role in the match with Gunther as well.
Well, that was our main event. Gunther against Finn Balor, which was, in fact, as Michael Cole noted, the first time they've ever had a singles match together.
A surprise, yeah. I think before the pandemic, they were supposed to do something for NXT, but that never happened, obviously. So we're getting it finally now.
Gunther begins with chops, and he continues with the chops to the point that Balor's collarbone is all discolored from these chops. It looked like sometimes it's usually the chest. This was like right up on him. That just felt what a wonderful target for chops. Gunther applies a Boston Crab. He's working on the back, and then Balor manages to turn over on a back suplex off the top, landing on top of Gunther. And then Gunther manages his first of many sleeper holds. And this sleeper hold was so effective that it put 12,000 people unconscious in this crowd. I thought the match was fine, but this audience was just quiet.
Well, I think they had trouble reacting to Balor as a babyface, because he's been a heel for years now.
The one moment they got into was when he climbed to the top for the coup de grace, and they know, it's his big move. And just like that, boom, the fans had life. But then the coup de grace missed, and we went right back to non-reaction. And this was built around a sleeper, which was tough. I would have liked to have seen Gunther maybe utilizing this a bit more, because obviously they're utilizing this for Saturday as a threatening submission, but the audience really did not take it as such. Balor hits the sling blade and then the double stomps. As I mentioned, he climbs to the top, crowd wakes up, and then misses the coup de grace back to the sleeper. Gunther powerbombs him, puts the sleeper on yet again, and Balor falls to the mat, and the referee waves it off in 12 minutes, 9 seconds, and Gunther puts the sleeper back on. This was like our sixth application when Damian runs down, and they brawled to end the show with Damian Priest having the upper hand, sending him over the desk and knocking him. The disrespect of throwing Gunther through the prime bottles.
It's sure, yeah, disrespectful.
That's how we ended the show.
Yep. He was doing the sleeper hold to draw Damian Priest out because the Priest had agreed not to help him. And this closing segment I thought was kind of just okay. The most effective, the peak of this feud to me was the street trash promo from Gunther. And they've kind of continued to fan the flames of that promo, but they haven't necessarily built on it. So by this point, it feels like a pretty decently built angle feud, but doesn't feel as red hot as let's say certainly Drew versus Punk, or what else we got here? What else we got for SummerSlam? What are the big matches?
Cody and Solo.
Rhea and Liv, I think, is the second best built feud of everything so far. Maybe the best for some people. Cody Solo is, it's going to be a bit of a struggle for people seeing Solo Sikoa in this role. Certainly, I don't know if anybody buys him beating Cody Rhodes. It could happen. There's enough time between now and WrestleMania for them to... Cody doesn't even have to win the belt back. Cody could be chasing come WrestleMania. So I don't completely write off Solo Sikoa as a champion, especially if Solo is going to be meeting a potential Roman Reigns.
It's only the secondary title because we do have the People's Championship.
That is correct. Yeah. So, but all in all, I think they've done a pretty good job with the SummerSlam. For the principal matches. What do we got? What's the card so far?
So the full card: Damian Priest and Gunther for the World Heavyweight Title, Bayley and Nia Jax for the Women's Belt, Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. We have to have that wording.
Three little words.
Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa. Logan Paul against LA Knight, Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker, and CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. So all singles matches too, by the way, that have been announced. And I don't foresee anything else getting added to this. If there was going to be, it would have been one of those tag title matches that are happening on SmackDown.
They do have a 3-hour kickoff, so I guess anything is possible. But
anything is possible.
They're saving the 2 tag title matches
This is going to be a long show, dude. Between this, the concert, some Miz segments, they could have some, unannounced appearance from somebody like we had with a Cena earlier this month. I mean, I fully expect this to be a 3.5 to 4 hour show.
I'm expecting like 4 hours. Yeah. Eating up most of the 4 hour window. I mean, 7 matches I think is digestible in that time.
All right. That was Raw, the final Raw before SummerSlam. We'll open it up if you want to send in any super chats, and we do have feedback from the forum to get to as well.
Yeah, we got quite a bit of a few super chats here, so thank you guys for some of that support. We got Lee Hildebrand, who sends $2 to say, getting Kevin Nash's Oz vibes from Uncle Howdy. I definitely think that was one of the comparisons made when Uncle Howdy first debuted all those years back. But Oz never had this backstory, And I think like the look, like people seem to like the look. Uncle Howdy at this point gets a big reaction anytime he appears. And again, it's more than just the outfit, it's the story they have going on behind the scenes, and they've really done a good job with that character in particular so far. But thank you very much for that, Lee. Let's go to Aaron Carnival, who sends $5 just to give us a bit for our Excedrin fund. Thank you very much. That's in U.S. denomination, I hope, because we'll be buying that in Cleveland. Legend Rider has been a channel member of our YouTube members page for 16 months, and he says, when do you guys think they finally do the Otis and Gable singles match? It's been built up for months now.
I mean, they could do it any time at this point. I guess you're holding it off. It kind of feels as though it's I don't think they've like missed the peak to do it. I just I don't know. It doesn't feel like a big match to me. And
I think the whole thing has somewhat been derailed by the Wyatts, and I continue to feel like Gable's original story heading into SummerSlam wasn't necessarily with the Wyatts. I mean they've done a great job with it, and it could very well have been the plan the whole time, but it just seems like it seems to have really cooled off Otis's role in everything. He, for several weeks, I think, was completely not on TV, or at least not doing anything significant. So they're going to have to build that back up. But the audience still loves Otis, like even tonight, like he came in for the hot tag and the audience reacted big for them. Now, what are they going to be fighting for? Because Otis is already a free man. He already hates Chad Gable. I guess they're just going to have one final match to just be rid of each other for good.
Maybe it turns out that Gable has a power of attorney on Otis, and thus we need those T-shirts to be stocked up. We have a loop. Perhaps. There's a loophole that Gable assigned him to.
Yeah, perhaps.
He trademarked Otis.
This feud has principally taken place on television, and I could see a match like that, a culminating match even between Otis and Gable taking place on one of the TV. Not necessarily a pay-per-view, but they could do it at any time. They just have to kind of ramp things back up. And are the Wyatt Sicks involved at all? So thanks for that, Legend Rider. Let's go to Karthik, who sends, I believe this is, I don't exactly know the denomination, but he sends 100 of them. Thank you very much for that, Karthik. Felt like last week was the de facto go home, but this SummerSlam card has come together as one of the best built pay-per-views of the year. Would you agree, John?
I think it's been a pretty good build. I don't know if it's been the best of the year, but the two key matches to me are what you mentioned. Like Punk and Drew, I think has been outstanding, and Rhea and Liv has been done very, very effectively. I think those two stand above the others, and
both of those featuring participants who have been injured and not around for several weeks. So I don't know if that tells you anything. The less you're on TV, maybe the better your chances are of getting a really hot match. But I mean, it also probably says something about just how beloved those two are as babyfaces in Punk and Ripley anyway. All right, let's go to forum.postwrestling.com.
Manny from Pacoima. A painfully long edition of Raw tonight. I'm not sure if it's just me, but it sounded like they added piped-in crowd noise throughout the entire episode. Not in the main event, they didn't. The audience sounded like that humming noise when the air is on. The episode didn't feel like a go-home edition, and the only segment I was really invested in was the Wyatt Sicks segment. John, I'm really looking forward to hearing the conclusion of your Wolverine and Deadpool journey once I see the movie this weekend. Bloodsport was a great show. Julius looks like a beast. Charlie Dempsey had my favorite match of the show, and Speedball versus Akira was a straight-up fight.
Well, Let's go up next to Jeremy in Texas. Not the best go-home edition of Raw. May not have been the dream come true for Pat McAfee on Sci-Fi. That's right. But I'm looking forward to SummerSlam. It seems a lot of the matches are not foregone conclusions. They've done a great job building Priest versus Gunther. Punk and Drew has been the best built program since February. And maybe we'll get a Roman Reigns return. I'm looking forward to your coverage from Cleveland. Let's hope the weather cooperates at the outdoor venue. Anything you all are looking forward to on your trip?
Yeah, it's a good question. We might be going. I'm going to try and go to the baseball game on Friday, actually. That's going to be a day of decision, but I would like to do that if possible.
That sounds fun, yeah. And like any of the WWE events, I guess, TBD. Like, I have some interest in the Sami Zayn comedy show, so that's a maybe as well. But we're usually pretty busy, like, on these trips, you know, just having to either catch up on shows throughout the week or going early, you know, for the 3-hour pre-show, of course. So, yeah. All right, let's go to Brian from New Jersey, who says, I think SummerSlam is going to be a very hot show, but felt only some of that heat on Raw tonight. Punk versus Drew is the hottest Raw program to me, but in the opening segment with them and Rollins, I felt they all came off like assholes. I thought Gunther and Finn Balor had a good main event, but not a lot of heat to it with both being heels. Good to know the Wyatt Sicks won't have to wrestle with their masks on. Nice to have Damage Control back, but not back in time to have a spot on SummerSlam. But that event is pretty full. I'm having fun following along with the G1. I have a firmly mediocre standing in the contest, but as long as I finish above a player named Ichiban Butthole, I'll be happy. Yes. That was a debated allowance in this year's contest. We've had to
let it slide.
We've had to disqualify, or at least ask some people to change their names. But that one sticks.
Postwrestling.com/G1. Muggin has the last word. It was an all-right go-home episode. Balor and Gunther was fun while it lasted, and Finn proved that he can still play that underdog babyface pretty damn well. The Seth Punk McIntyre segment was strong. I bet the match will be full of chicanery. I don't think it'll end at SummerSlam. The New Day Final Testament feud is going nowhere. Damage Control has their work cut out for them as they are being positioned as babyface anti-heroes. Bloodsport is a lot more Forbidden Door than AEW has been lately. I love how it's become a melting pot for promotions working this style. It's something dope. That should be its tagline.
It's something dope. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for your feedback. And thank you to all of you tuning in live here after Raw. We've got Tuesday coming your way. It's live, 9 p.m. Eastern time. PostWrestlingCafe.com. Rich Fan, WH Park, opening up the digital door, welcoming in John Pollock to chat Deadpool and Wolverine. We will share our thoughts. We will get some of your feedback. WH is going to share his weekend hanging out with Rich Fan, who came all the way up to Toronto. Maybe we'll talk about what we got up to on Saturday night. Maybe even WH will talk about his in-person meeting with Jermaine from Chicago. Maybe that story will be revealed on Tuesday.
I think he has to now.
Yeah, I've kind of put him on the spot. But that's coming up, followed by Wednesday. We've got Pollock and Thurston at 3 Eastern and Rewind to Dynamite Wednesday night. Way and I will be chatting. And Way, I hope you're doing better tomorrow and by Wednesday when we chat. Was this a little soothing, or is your migraine even worse from listening to me for an hour?
It's always helpful to engage in pro wrestling discussion with you, John. So thank you for this.
That is it for us. We will chat with you later this week. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Goodbye.